Jordan Empowered Living Community. I am super stoked for this call. I can't wait to introduce you to Westley Morris. Westley, I had never met Westley. Honestly, I didn't even know of his kind of existence until he enrolled in our mastermind group. And so, prior to the mastermind group, I see everybody's application and I read through their story. And I was reading this guy's story and I was like, whoa, this guy has a story. And then I was watching some links of him and I thought, this guy is like a fantastic speaker. And then when we came together, one of the things we do at the mastermind group at my house is there's 12 people and we all have dinner. And everybody kind of goes around and gives kind of the Reader's Digest version of their life. And like Westley owned the room, like you could have heard a pin drop as he was sharing his story. It's a fascinating story, but you could have a good story told poorly and it's not so good. And you can have a poor story that's told well and it's epic, right? So first off, Westley, thanks so much for jumping in and thanks for saying yes to being a six-figure mentor. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for asking. It's great to be on the show. And yeah, that story, that is my, that is my mark and I've really mastered it. And, that story is that, I was supposed to be a farm boy, Paul. I was raised around the farming community. And then, we moved to right outside of Philadelphia. And when I was 12 years old, my whole life changed. I thought I had a normal life, baseball, football, had a dog, and I come home from wrestling practice and the whole state police had my whole house surrounded. It looked like an episode of Cops. Yeah, and I'm standing on the sidewalk, 12 years old. I'm scared, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. And I see my mother be carried out in handcuffs. She was being arrested for running a prostitution ring. And I was crushed. My whole world just came falling down. I cried myself to sleep that night, went to school. You can imagine the ridicule that I faced. And and turned to drugs and alcohol at an early age. The unmanageability set in pretty quickly. By the time I was 20 years old, I had 3 DUIs and 7 underages, and I had lost my license for 22 years.
Oh my goodness.
Just completely reckless. I had no regard for human life. And my best idea was to, make a geographical change. So I moved to the inner city of Philadelphia. And long story short, I took myself with me and ended up becoming a homeless heroin addict, selling bottles of water in the middle of the street in North Philadelphia for $1 a piece. And I was 50 pounds less than I am right now. I was malnourished. I was dehydrated. And I was a shell of a man. I was broken. And one day, my mom, she walked in on me right as I was about to intravenously inject, drugs into my system. And it was more than I could handle. So I dropped to my knees and I prayed like I've never prayed before in my life. And I made a decision right there and right then that there had to be something more for me. And, long story short, I took that same massage business that got arrested for prostitution, rebranded, no business experience, and while riding a bicycle, and grew it 1,000% in 4 years, as well as developed a motivational speaking career in the process. So that is my story. I'm just excited to grow. I am living proof that you can do more, be more, and become more, baby. Let's go.
I'll tell you, when you were telling the story, because, I go to Philadelphia every 90 days to see my pain management doctor and the surgeon and stuff. And I've been through that area of Philadelphia where they call it street zombies. I mean, you see people who are so strung out on heroin or fentanyl or whatever that is. And you were one of those. I mean, you, as you described it, you were one of these. Just like it's the saddest. It was a lost soul. It's the saddest thing you've ever seen. And to see and to know you now, right? To know you now, I can't picture you that way because I see you as you. but you bring it alive in your story. And I've had an opportunity to see several of your talks to any size audience and any type of audience. And in every single audience, you command the stage. Your story is so vulnerable and it's so real. How important is that as a communicator? I mean, do you think that you would be as effective if if you painted yourself in a better light? Or
I think my ability to convey that message on stage is because I really lived it. Like, it was my life, and it scarred me, and it made me the man that I am, and I lived it, So there was at one time where I was shameful about my past, and I had to do the work in order to realize that I am the man that I am now because of my experiences. Marcel said last week, he said, take your mess and make a message. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So powerful. One of the things we were talking about, of course, hey guys, let me just say this. Tuesday, May 10th at 8 p.m., you want to be on the six-figure call. You want, first off, you just want to hear the story. And I hope you'll take a little bit of time and share your story, Westley, because it's so powerful. But then also you're going to want to learn, how do you create your signature story, right? How do you get it lined up? And Wesley's going to do some great teaching. But one of the things you shared is that you think that one of the most critical tools as a speaker or communicator, as a connector, is listening. And I get it from the connection side, of course. And I guess I understand it from the communication side, but as a speaker, why is your skill, and why and how have you developed your ability to listen?
Well,
as a listener,
a couple of reasons, but when I'm on stage or when I'm speaking to anyone, it could be one-on-one, it could be a small group, it could be a large group. I'm trying to convey a solution to a problem. I'm trying to convey a message, right?
Yeah.
And in order to do that, a person must listen for the problem. And so many times we listen with the intention of responding rather than listening with the intention of learning. And as a speaker, you may be trying to solve a problem that's not even there because you didn't really listen for the real problem. Case in point, my wife, love her to death. I was building my business 12-hour days, 6 days a week, information, just hustling, grinding. Come home 9 o'clock at night, she gives me the report, right? I want the bottom line. She gives me every detail, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with my hand in my head. I can't process any more information, right? I just want the bottom line. I thought that she was trying to tell me every detail. What she really wanted me to do was to understand the emotions that she felt throughout her day. And because I was listening with my conscious mind rather than my EQ, I didn't really hear what she was trying to tell me.
That is so powerful. I remember when I was speaking with Les Brown, he said, listen to the listening of the audience. That as the audience is listening, they're also going to give you cues of you connecting with them and how to connect with them. There's a magic that happens, isn't there, from stage to audience?
Yes.
And when you have it, like, when that connection is right. And as a speaker, the only thing maybe better is getting the check when you're done. But outside of that, there's no better feeling in the world than knowing that you've connected with an audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really powerful.
They're responsive. So,
Yeah. So in your call on, again, Tuesday, May 10th, 8 p.m., guys, do not miss spending time with Westley Morris, man. If you're at all having a bad day or a bad week or bad month or bad minute, get on the call. This guy will motivate you like crazy, inspire you for sure. what will you be sharing on the call? What can somebody expect when they get on the call with you? Hopefully, you're going to share a little bit about your story so they can hear you communicate.
Yeah. I'm going to share my story, because it is a powerful story and it does inspire people. But I'm going to, I'm going to talk about, the importance of communication, and I'm going to give, a couple of reasons as to why it's important to be a good communicator, and a couple of reasons as to how to be a better communicator.
Mm. What do you think is the most important reason? Like why be a communicator? Because I agree. I think everybody should learn how to speak and communicate. But what's your number one? If you had to pick one of the three,
You know, Paul, when I was at my darkest moment in life, there was a man, and I'll never forget him. His name was Buddy Osborne, and I was pretty low, and he spoke into my life, and he changed my life for the rest of my life, and he influenced me. So to answer your question, I think the most important thing is influence, and being able to not only influence your family or your team or your staff or your clients, but to be able to influence yourself. I think that if we can't influence ourselves, and the way that we communicate to ourselves is so very important, that it's one of those things that it has to be addressed. It has to be improved. If we can't influence ourselves, I have to influence myself on a daily basis. 5 o'clock in the morning, I never feel like getting up.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's important to influence yourself, or else, your outside world will allow it to influence us. And that's exactly how I got to where I got when I was in Philadelphia. So
Yeah, that's such a powerful point. And as a communicator, you control the influence. Because you know what the message is going to be, and you can script it, and you can memorize it, and you can master it, and you can pick every right word before it's said. I was just teaching in the Empower Living community on the topic of kind of how to give lunch and learns. And I said, one of the reasons why you want to give a lunch and learn is because you are positioning yourself in front of an audience at your very best, meaning that you would have had 6 months to work on your speech, craft your speech, test your speech, know it works, know the jokes work, know the vignettes work, know how to communicate it, master the timing, and so when they see you, they're seeing you just at your very, very best, saying whatever is the very best. They're seeing only the side that you want them to see. And what a great way to position yourself. And I think that's one of the powers of public speaking. And when I met with you, I remember we were walking the dogs, I think, out down the street, and we were talking, and you shared that you didn't really have formal training as a communicator. You mastered the ability to tell your story by going to recovery meetings,
mhm.
and being open and raw,
Yeah.
and that's how you learned. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
that like? Share what that's like.
So, for the past 10 years, I've been, a member of a 12-step program, and part of, my program is speaking and carrying the message, right? And, through my own personal development, I was able to shape and mold my story, right? And
Mhm.
through the development, I was able to sort through the confusion and contradiction that had became my life. Because if you would have asked me what my story was 9 years ago, I had not processed and compartmentalized the events in my life. I was still blaming mom.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know? And for the
yeah.
last for the last 9 years, I have really did some deep internal work, and I've been able to frame up my story and pull out the principles and the lessons and the teaching points in my story as a result of telling it thousands and thousands of times, and just
Mhm.
really, really getting good. I mean, I've told my story literally 1,000 times, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got good.
You still get nervous when you got to go speak in front of an audience?
No,
No.
it's not about me.
Right.
See,
I think that's what happens is when you're nervous, it is about you. And when you pass beyond that, it's not nervous, it's excitement, right? It's anxious to get there. Like I want to get there, right?
yeah.
I want to, like, let's go. I'm not nervous, but I guess it's anxiety. It's not anxiety in the negative sense. There's an anticipation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get there, right? And I want to get it on and communicate and connect, right? And teach. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
When you go and speak, do you give the same? Is it the same talk all the time, or is it a version of that same talk? Do you have the dexterity to mold that with different audiences and different messages that maybe an audience wants?
Yeah, absolutely. There's different variations. I mean, the key points are pretty much the same, but I can, I think that, when you're speaking, especially with your own story, it's a straight line, and then you're branching off in and out, and you're always coming back to the main. It's just how far do you go down any one of those perpendiculars? Case in point, I was speaking to a young group of wrestlers, maybe 9 to 14 years old last week. Now, I'm not going to come out with the X-rated version. I mean, I don't bring the X-rated version out very much at all, but they needed to hear more about the thought process that went through and the events that led to, versus if I were with a group of people that are at their lowest, they need to hear that hope. So yeah,
right.
You do have to be versatile and feel the energy, feel the audience, and find out what they need.
Well, guys, I just hope that you will make time to be on this call Tuesday, May 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and don't come alone. I mean, if you've got kids, put your kids on this call. Let them hear this story. If you've got family members, let them. If there's anybody in your life that needs a lift and a word of encouragement, get them on this call of all calls. Westley, thank you so much. And for everybody, be watching like today on this page and on my social media pages. We're playing just a sizzle reel of Westley on stage, so you can see and hear it. If you want to get a little bit of a preview, it's epic. So thank you so much, my friend.
My pleasure's all mine. Thank you, Paul.
All right. God bless. Be well. Bye-bye.
All right. I believe it or not, I once too was in your seats. And I wish that I would have learned or grasped something that someone was trying to tell me at the time that they were trying to tell me at. My decisions have been based on other people's opinions of me. And can you identify with that? Like my identity in high school and the experiences that I experienced, I allowed that to dictate who I thought I was and allowed those opinions to become my reality. What I'm saying is, it's over. And let me tell you something, you're going into the most critical time of your life. I always thought that what I did made me who I was. So I started waking up earlier. I started reading books. I started doing whatever it takes. I'm riding my bike 8 miles from my house to my business just to get there on time. It's game on. I had to push past those feelings. My why was greater than my how. And when your why is greater than your how, nothing can stand in your way. To say this happened in the past, this is where I'm going in the future, and this is right now. And live in the here and now. Be where your feet are. Take responsibility for your actions. And I invite you to do that. I could see how all my decisions throughout my entire life had led me right to where I was right there. And I started making good decisions. The way that you treat each other and your values and principles and belief system is what makes you the person that you are.